Childhood has its fair share of rude awakenings. I can remember when my nephew tried to come to terms with the concept of daylight savings. It was devastating to him to realize that we would arbitrarily move the hands of our clocks forward or backwards at will. To him, that was a travesty, because there are some things he thought, like time, that should never be changeable by whim. I don't remember any personal crisis that came from my learning about daylight savings, but I can tell you that I was crushed to learn about my money and banks. Every Wednesday, we each brought in an envelope which contained part of our allowances, and off it was sent to the bank. You did that too? Yeah? Yeah. Well, then we were promised in June that we would not only get our own money back, but we would get interest as well. That sounded good until the fateful day arrived when, yes, I got my interest, but I soon realized that my individual coins had not been in safekeeping. The currency that was returned to me was clearly not the same currency that I had deposited. And I felt totally betrayed. The tears were bitter, and they were many. Another time I was in for a jolt was when I first read the birth narrative for myself. Maybe I was in the 3rd grade. I had always assumed that all angels were female. And our annual Christmas pageants did nothing to belie that fact. The angels were always girls. So when I pictured the Annunciation, I envisioned someone like Tinkerbell going to see Mary. Not a male angel. That seemed like a contradiction in terms. No offense. This morning on this 3rd Sunday in Advent, I invite you to take another look at the angel Gabriel and Mary, and to look at these divine encounters. My guess is that Gabriel must have been like a chief amongst the angels, because God gave him not only one, but 2 highly significant jobs. He was a messenger. That's what the word angel means in Greek. Doesn't mean angelic, it means messenger. And one day he was sent to an old man named Zechariah, and 6 months later he was sent to a teenager named Mary. His message was essentially the same for both. He's not very subtle. He cuts right to the quick. He starts by telling them not to be afraid. That'll be a little bit like going up to someone an inch away from their face, clapping your hands and saying, "Don't blink." And then he gives them the big news. And he tells them, he announces to them that they are both going to be parents. Senior citizens Zechariah and Elizabeth are going to have a baby. And unwed Mary is as well. This information goes totally counter to what each of them knew about the birds and the bees. They were about to defy the laws of biology and to bear fruit. Zechariah says, "No, this can't be. I'm old, and my wife's old." And Mary says the same thing. It can't be, but for a different reason. She says, "No, this can't be. I'm a virgin. Virgins don't have babies." But in each case, Gabriel bypasses their objections and tells them that nonetheless they will have a child, and the child will be great. Even though for her, the news, in contrast to being a cause for jubilation, would most likely have been devastating. She didn't want a baby, at least not now. What if Joseph, her espoused husband, denounced her? What if her parents disowned her? Where would she live, and how would she raise a baby by herself? And what if all her friends deserted her? And what if the community in which she had been brought up shunned her? And what if, and this may have been the worst possible fear of all, what if she questioned whether she were losing her sanity? It's possible. Yet, ironically, in the midst of all this terrible pondering, the angel tells her that she is a favored one. She may well have felt like Mother Teresa when Mother Teresa said, "God, if this is the way that you treat your friends, I'd hate to know how you act toward your enemies." She really did say that. Yet it is precisely now, at this moment, that we can see for ourselves the magnitude of Mary's soul. In her mind, she jumps right over the why me, why innocent me. She jumps right over that hook that Zechariah can't free himself from. He can't get past. And instead, with amazing fortitude, she's able to put down all her mighty fears. And instead, we see her standing there alone with the immensity of her love for God. And it is truly awe-inspiring. Someone once asked, "What good is it to me if Mary were full of grace, but I am not? What good is it if I spend my life trying to magnify my own ego by helping my own friends, when God's dream, God's song, is that I help reach out to the rest of his family, the ones who are in need, the ones who are forgotten?" Mary said, "Let it be with me according to God's words." And may we say the same. Amen.